Hi friends, it's Lala. I tend to like books that a lot of people seem to dislike. That's just like a fact of my reading life. A lot of books I read where the general consensus is like this book was weird or pointless or stupid, I end up really enjoying. So I thought what I would do today is talk about those lowly rated books by other people that I enjoyed. Maybe tell you why I enjoyed it or why I think other people didn't enjoy it, why you might enjoy it. And I'm sure a lot of times when a book gets a really low rating, I've also rated it low and I agree with the general consensus, but there are definitely times where I rate a book high that everyone else seems to dislike. I have a couple predictions here. I tried to grab a couple off my shelf that I thought fit here, and then I thought, why don't we get really scientific about it and actually go to my Goodreads and sort by average rating and see what books show up. So we're gonna go through those books that are rated low and the ones that I have rated above a 3. A 4 or 5 star out of 5 is what I consider a book that I liked. And I think I'll talk about the 10 books that have the lowest ratings that I rated high. So we're gonna pull up my Goodreads, go to my books, go to all the books that I've ever read, and then sort by average rating. And that'll show me all of the books that have the highest average rating first, but if I click it again, it'll flip it and show me the lowest ratings. Here we go. So from this view, you can't see my rating, but I remember my rating. So I'll tell you the lowest rated ones I agree with. So the first one that I did not agree with the general consensus is Beautiful Broken Girls by Kim Savage. This has a 2.87 average rating, which is really low, and I gave it 4 stars. That one is not hugely surprising, but this is definitely a book I went into thinking I would rate it low, because Kim Savage's debut novel I gave like 2 point something stars. So this one I didn't have like the grandest expectations, but I ended up really liking it. So this book is about 2 girls who drown themselves and leave notes behind for a boy to like find out what happened to them. I liked it because it's dark and it's raw and it's very unsettling, and those types of books I tend to like. I would think maybe that's why people rated it low. But also I can definitely see how there are things in here that could be deemed really problematic. So that, coupled with a complete cast of unlikable characters and nothing is justified at the end, nothing is like explained, no characters grow or develop in any way. So I understand the low rating for this. This one isn't a huge shock. Next up are another couple books that I agree with the low rating. Okay, there. We have The Dinner by Herman Coach. That one I had a feeling would show up. It has a 3.21 average rating, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I remember reading this book so well because I put it off for years because everyone said, don't read it, it's not good, it's not gonna change your life, it's just a waste of time, there's no point to this book. And so once I finally got around to reading it, I was shocked by how much I liked it. This is the story of a dinner. The entire book revolves around this dinner that a couple is having. They each have a teenage son and they're discussing something that has occurred amongst the families. Again, we have a very unlikable cast of characters. I have a feeling that's something that's going to be a trend throughout these 10 books. I'm not saying every single person who rated this book low rated it low because of the unlikable characters, but I have a good feeling that some good chunk of people did. Nobody in this book is likable or redeemable in any way, and it just depends if that's the type of book you enjoy or not. I don't need to like my characters, I don't need to understand my characters. This book and all of the people in it made me just nauseated, and I dig it. So that's 2 out of 10. Next one is A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. I'm not surprised that this is on here, but I didn't want it to be on here. The average rating is 3.27, and I gave it a whopping 5 out of 5. So A House at the Bottom of a Lake is a novella. It's very short. There is one thing I didn't like about this book. There's one line that is a little cultural appropriation that bugged me, where he calls a hose a spirit animal. And while I have had a couple First Nations friends read this book and mention that as being a reason they didn't like it, I don't think that's the general consensus of why this has a low rating. I think this probably has a low rating because it doesn't necessarily go where you think it's gonna go, and things aren't all wrapped up nicely and things aren't explained. So this is about a couple who goes to visit this house underwater, and I loved it because it gave me this just anxious feeling while reading that I loved. And I really liked how it wasn't explained in the end and that you can kind of interpret it however you want, but I totally get how other people did not like that aspect of this. Next up is a couple more books that I agree with the rating. Still agree. Oh, yeah, okay. Girls on Fire by Robin Wasserman, I should have thought about. It has a 3.36 average rating, and I, again, gave it 5 stars. So again, the trend continues with books about really unlikable characters. This story follows girls who have become friends, and their friendship becomes very toxic, and bad shit goes down. I originally had an arc of this book, so when I was reading it, not very many other people had read it, so I can't actually think of why people rated this low besides just having characters in it that they absolutely detest. So let me check out some ratings. So what I'm seeing from other people's reviews are that they didn't like anyone in the book, that the book wasn't quite what they were expecting because they were expecting more of a murder mystery and it focused way too much on the characters, and that it was way too over the top and like unrealistic. So I can totally respect all of those things. I do remember this being just like way too much, and the dialogue was just like very campy teenage horror flick, but I think those are things I really liked about this book, so I don't know. You might want to check this out. You might absolutely hate it. This is a hard one. Okay, let's keep going. Didn't like any of those. Oh, Nerve by Jean Ryan. Yeah, I can definitely see why that's on the list. So its average rating is 3.39, and I remember giving it a 4. So with Nerve, I can definitely see how people did not like this. It's about this game that people have to play on their phones. It's a game of truth or dare that is broadcast for everyone to watch. And I think that the main thing people don't love about this is there's not a lot of substance. Like, you don't learn a lot about the characters. You don't like anybody in this book. There's not like intricate layers and things that like reveals that happen. It's just this high energy adventure kind of story, and that's what I liked about it. I found it very entertaining. I can't tell you that the writing or the characters or anything was spectacular. It was just an entertaining read from front to back, and I get the low rating for this one. We are halfway through, and Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler has not shown up, which I thought would be like the #1 on this list, so that's interesting. Okay, another couple books that I agree with. The Haters by Jesse Andrews. Wow, okay, this is the first surprise on the list. So that book has a 3.45 average rating, and I gave it 4 stars. So we're getting to the point where my rating isn't too far off the average, but the thing about these books is it's not that every single person who reads it gives it a 3, it's that it's a really polarizing book, and everyone gives it either a 1 or a 5. It's funny because Jesse Andrews wrote these 2 books, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which everybody loves, but I hated, and The Haters, which I loved and apparently everyone else hated. Again, this is a book I read as an arc, so I can't say that I'm aware of why people have rated this low, because when I was reading and reviewing it, nobody had really posted their opinion yet, so this is one I'm gonna have to deep dive on. Okay, so all of my friends are specifically mentioning the humor and the jokes in here. And I specifically, in my review, it says this is one of the funniest books I've ever read. I feel like this was very like vulgar teenage boy humor, and like a lot of jokes that didn't really make sense and were just inside jokes between the 3 main characters who were like escaping from band camp and going on this road trip. I have a million orange post-its in here, so I'm very sorry if I told you this book was so funny and you thought it was awful, but I still think it was funny. I remember laughing out loud reading this, so it's just your brand of humor. So I can't tell you whether or not to pick this up because I don't know your joke taste. All right, let's keep looking. Agree, agree, agree. What? Okay, the thing is, we're getting to the 3.5 range, and I don't think 3.5 is a bad rating. So the next 4, I don't feel like I need to defend as heavily. I did not expect to see a Casey West book here. This one has a 3.49 average rating, and I gave it a 4. This book is about a girl who wins the lottery and how it affects her life. I think of all the Casey West protagonists, this one was probably the least likable. So again, that might be what it is. And all of my friends like gave it a 3. So I don't see anybody who absolutely hated this. I have seen a couple people say there are a lot of cliches in this book and they didn't like the main character. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. Okay, next we have The Last Boy and Girl in the World by Siobhan Vivian, which I'm not shocked to see here. It has a 3.48 average rating and I gave it 4 stars. I remember it being like a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. And this one I did not read early. I in fact read it after a good amount of other people had read it. And so my review specifically says, I really don't know why people have been rating this book so low. Our main character is a self-involved teenage girl. Her dad is nuts. Her friendships are messy. Her relationship is shallow. Does this not paint a picture of authentic youth? So this is really just a preference thing. If you have to like and understand your main characters and see a lot of growth, even though it only takes place in like a month span, then this probably isn't the best book for you. But I loved it, and it's actually one of my most highly recommended YA contemporaries. I agree with the average rating for the girls. Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler. Finally, this book shows up. It has a 3.49 average rating. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This is one of my favorite books ever. So this is told in a series of letters from our main character to a boy, and they just broke up, and it's everything that went wrong in their relationship, and it's kind of like a romance because it tells how they fell in love, but every little reason is a reason why they're no longer together. And the criticism that I see for this is people say there was no point to this book. They don't understand why this was written. They didn't gain anything from reading it. They didn't see any characters like grow. But that's what I liked about it. It's literally just a 1 month peek into this girl's life in high school. There's no character growth because it's a 1 month, one relationship girl in high school. Like my review apparently says, it didn't try to reach some immense philosophical level or dive into characters' backgrounds and try to find some meaningful depth behind their actions. It didn't have an unrealistic character arc where lives are changed forever in the span of 2 months. We just got a peek into Min's life and her relationships, and it was so well done. I can kind of understand where people are coming from with this, but this book is just so awesome to me that, I don't know, I have a hard time with it. Okay, and we're on to finding our last one. I should have done this the opposite way, so like the lowest rated book was last and I could have defended it, but like I couldn't have possibly known how many to start from. Do you know what I mean? So the last one is I Crawl Through It by A.S. King, which got a 3.51 average rating, and I gave it 5 stars. I love this book. Okay, so the thing with this book is it's not magical realism or fabulism. It is pure surrealism. And it's very different from our other books because we don't just follow one main character navigating life with a little like fantastical element. This follows a little group of characters and you literally don't know what's real or what's happening or what she's saying half the time. So this is definitely a book that I understand that people hate, but I think if you like this, you're really gonna like it. This is the book that introduced me to my love for surrealism. And it's one of those books that if you need things to make sense, and if you need an answer for everything, and if you need to understand what's happening, you're not gonna like it. So I get it. I think I said this before. It's like A.S. King was having a competition with herself of who could come up with the most obscure sentence, because it's just sentence after sentence of nonsensical storyline, and some of it's written really strangely, and there's a girl who swallowed herself. There's a guy with an invisible helicopter. It's definitely one of the weirdest books I've ever read. So if you tend to like weird books, or just in general books that I like, that other people seem to not like. Maybe you'll like that one. Maybe you'll like this entire stack of them. And that's the video. So please feel free in the comments to let me know what you thought of any of these books. I definitely welcome different opinions. So I hope you will respect mine as well. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I might do the opposite of this video, which I feel like will get a lot more hate, but I can definitely do one where I talk about the most popular hyped books out there that I didn't like, instead of ones that everyone else doesn't like, but I do. Which one of those videos is more setting myself up for criticism? I don't know. We'll see. I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.